close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing in a crowded room, where everyone seems brighter, smarter, more confident than you. You want to speak, but your throat tightens. You want to step forward, but your feet feel heavy, as if chained by invisible ropes of doubt. Have you ever felt that way? Invisible, silenced by your own fears? Because this is not just Sarah's story, this is our story. The story of every woman who was told she was not enough. The story of every woman who was told her dreams were too big, her voice too small, her place limited. But here's the truth no one tells you. Confidence is not something we are born with. It is something we build. It's not a gift others give you. It is a decision you make, and once you make that decision, once you rise with self-confidence, your entire world transforms. Today, I want to take you into the life of a woman who proved this. She was not famous, not rich, not the type people expected to succeed, but she had one thing, a hidden fire. This fire was buried under years of self-doubt, fear, and rejection. But when it finally lit up, when she dared to believe in herself, nothing could stop her. Her name was Sarah. And when you hear how she rose, you'll begin to see the reflection of your own rise inside her story. So stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, you won't just know Sarah's story. You'll feel like it's your story too. The 15 minutes can be filled by slowing down delivery, pausing at key emotions, giving real, life-relatable examples of women facing self-doubt at work, in families, in society, making listeners nod and connect deeply before we even begin her actual life story. She rose with self-confidence. Sarah was a bright child, curious, creative but shy. Her family loved her, but constantly reminded her of her limits. You're too soft-spoken. Writing is a hobby, not a career. Girls from small towns should not dream too big. At school, she loved to write essays, poems, and stories. But every time she shared, classmates laughed. Who would ever read you words? These small cuts carved deep scars. Slowly, she learned to stay silent, to hide her passions. By college, Sarah was the girl in the back row, quiet, unnoticed. She passed exams, did what was safe. But inside, a storm brewed. One day, while scrolling on her old phone, she saw a video about women leaders. The speaker said, "Confidence is not about being the loudest. It is about believing in your voice, even when it shakes." Something in Sarah stirred. That night, she pulled out her old notebook, where she used to scribble poems as a child. She wrote a line, "One day, I will not whisper my dreams. I will shout them." For the first time in years, her pen felt alive. Sarah decided to post one of her writings online. She pressed publish and waited. Hours passed, no likes, no comments. Her inner critic laughed, "See, nobody cares." But instead of deleting it, she whispered, "I will not quit this time." Days later, a stranger commented, "This touched my heart. Thank you for writing this." One voice was enough to spark her flame. Over months, Sarah kept writing. Sometimes, her work was ignored. Sometimes, it was ridiculed. She cried often, but she kept going. Slowly, her articles began to spread. Teachers, friends, even strangers began to notice. She was invited to speak at a local college event. On stage, her hands shook. She almost backed out. But then, she remembered her promise. I will not whisper my dreams. She spoke, her voice cracked at first, then grew stronger. By the end, the audience clapped. Some stood, tears in her eyes. Sarah realized her words mattered. Sarah published her first book. She rose with self-confidence. She was invited to workshops and conferences. Young girls looked at her and said, "Because of you, I'm not afraid to dream anymore." The same people who once mocked her now quoted her words. But Sarah always reminded them, it wasn't talent alone. It wasn't luck. It was the courage to believe in myself when nobody else did. Her mission became bigger than her. She wasn't just writing anymore. She was building a movement for women to rise, with self-confidence. The narrator, you, closes with, Sarah's story is not unique. It is the story of every woman who has ever been silenced, doubted, or dismissed. But just like Sarah, you have a choice. To remain hidden in the shadows of fear, or to rise with the light of self-confidence. The world doesn't need perfect people. The world needs women who believe in themselves. And maybe that woman is you. This is a powerful keynote style motivational speech wrapped around a woman's transformational story. Ideal for coaching seminars, women's empowerment events, spiritual gatherings, or video content. The speech blends narrative storytelling, emotional inspiration, and real-life breakthroughs. There comes a moment in every woman's life when the whisper becomes a scream, when the mirror no longer hides the truth, when silence becomes unbearable, and she realizes she was never meant to shrink to fit anyone's comfort. Today, I want to share with you a story. Not just any story. The story of a woman who, like so many of us, lived most of her life doubting herself. Until one decision changed everything. Eliana was 29 years old, working as an executive assistant in a corporate office in a big city. On paper, she had it all: a stable job, a long-term partner, a decent apartment. But deep inside, she was drowning in silence. She smiled in the meetings, answered emails like a machine, and came home to microwave dinners and Netflix reruns. Her partner loved comfort. She wanted change. Every day, I would pass by a bookstore on my way to work. I'd see women giving book talks, holding space, telling their truths. And I'd think, that could be me. But then that voice would come. You're not smart enough. You're not polished enough. Who would even care what you have to say? So I'd keep walking. She had always written in her journal, pages and pages, raw, honest, unfiltered, but no one ever saw them, because she didn't think her words mattered. One Thursday night, everything cracked. Her partner, Jason, came home late again. She had made dinner, again, waited, again. And when she brought up how unseen she felt, he brushed it off. Liana, you're too emotional. You always overthink things. You should be grateful. Other women would love your life. That night, she didn't argue. She packed a small bag, got in her car, and just drove. No destination, just tears. I parked at a lookout point, and sat on the hood of my car. The city lights below looked like another universe. one where women like me actually lived, not just survived. And then the question came. If you could do anything, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? And my soul answered before I could stop it. I'd speak. I'd write. I'd tell the truth. I'd help women come home to themselves. The next morning, she quit her job. No plan, just fire. She moved back in with her aunt in Northern California, a retired midwife and spiritual counselor, who had once told her, "Pain is your body's way of calling you home, and silence is the soul's way of asking to be heard." There, in that dusty guest room, Liana began writing, not just in journals, but out loud, on social media, on Medium, in emails to old friends. She started telling the truth. About hiding. About shrinking. About fearing she would never be good enough. About the trauma of being the good girl. Her whole life. And something unexpected happened. Women began responding, not with likes, with testimonies. "I read your post. It's like you were speaking from my own heart. Thank you for saying what I've never had the courage to say." Eliana began hosting small online circles called The Returning, for women who felt disconnected from their voice. 10 women signed up for her first group. Then 30. Then 80. She wasn't a licensed therapist, not a polished coach. She was just honest. And in a world that constantly tells women to fix themselves, her honesty was medicine. One woman told me, "You gave me permission to stop apologizing for existing." And that's when I realized my pain had a purpose. But just as things began expanding, the fear returned. She was offered a publishing deal, a real one, and she froze. That voice, the same one from years ago, came back louder than ever. "You'll embarrass yourself. You're not qualified. Who do you think you are?" She nearly turned it down, until her aunt sat her down and said, "You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. The world doesn't need another expert. It needs someone real. Someone raw. Someone brave. You've already started changing lives. Don't stop now." She accepted the deal. Her book, Returning to Her, launched the next year, and became a viral bestseller in the women's spirituality and empowerment space. She began speaking at international conferences, not because she was the most educated or the most experienced, but because she embodied the transformation from doubt to destiny, spoken slowly and powerfully to audience just. The truth is, every woman has 2 voices in her. One that says, "Who do you think you are?" And one that whispers, "You were born for this." The question is not which one is louder. The question is, which one will you listen to? Liana's story isn't rare. It's the story of millions of women waiting for permission. But you don't need permission. You need remembrance. Remembrance of the fire you came with, the truth you carry. So I ask you today, not to rise perfectly, but to rise powerfully. Because your destiny doesn't need perfection. It needs your presence. From doubt to destiny. This is your time.